Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're new and you're here for the very first time, you're really welcome. I'm Jane. My husband Mike is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, debt and mortgage free, and living a thrifty, frugal and money-saving life on a super tight budget here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Friday we share with you something that is food related. Maybe a shopping haul, it might be some menu planning, and it might be some cooking. And today we have cooked an absolute treat for you. Now, we live here in France, so one of the reasons we live here in France is we love French food, and we love in particularly French patisserie. And we would love to be able to go into the bakery and buy a Tarte Tatin or a Tarte Citron, which is an apple upside down cake, or a lemon tart. But firstly, they're massively expensive. I mean, they're artisan made, they're beautiful, but they are about 15 to 20 euros. They genuinely are. I mean, you can buy them in the supermarket, but they're definitely out of a factory. Or you can make them yourselves, and that is exactly what I've done. Mine is gluten-free. I will put in the instructions, in the description box below, all the recipe, and I'll put it in metric and I will put it in American measurements as well. And we really hope that you enjoy this video because they sound complicated, don't they? But they are not. They are so simple, and I promise you they will become two of your favorite summer desserts, and they are so easy. They're a piece of cake. I'm going to start my lemon tart by making my pastry, and I'm making a double amount of pastry today, so I'll have some and more. I will put all the measurements for this in the description box below, and the recipe in the description box below, and all you have to do is follow me. So I have in here, this is gluten-free flour and a few spoons of icing sugar, confectioners sugar or glacé sugar, and I've got in here as well some cold butter. As cold as I can because it's warm in the kitchen today. And I've got eggs as well. These are free-range eggs. So I'm going to whiz these up until they're breadcrumbs. I will then add in 2 eggs, whiz it up again, and it will be pastry. And I'll put it to chill. I thought I'd share a bit of real life with you here, what I'm trying to do. You know when you see people cooking, they cook all of this space. Well, I'm just doing this, next to the coffee machine and the kettle and the spoons and the vegetables from the garden and the washing up, ignore that, and the apples and the potatoes. Anyway, here's the flour, the sugar and the butter and the xanthum gum because I'm using gluten-free flour. I've added that in there, and I have in here 3 eggs. I may need to add it. Now these are 3 small eggs. I weigh them so it comes to 122 grams, which is about 60 gram an egg for a decent sized egg. So I put 3 in, and I'll divide it up so it blends in easily. See, I make 2 little pockets in there. I'll switch the machine on again, blend it up, and if it comes to a big lump of pastry, it's done. If not, I'll add a bit more very cold water. There we are. I'll press it with my fingers. You can see it's all stuck together. I'm now going to get this out of here, and I'm going to get it into my fridge. In fact, I'll be quick. I'll put it in. You'd refrigerate it for an hour. I'm going to put it in the freezer for 20 minutes to 30 minutes and chill that down. And I've got enough here for my 2 desserts today. So let's get that out of here. I'm going to roll out my pastry between 2 pieces of greaseproof paper because it's very buttery. And I then use the greaseproof paper and put the whole pastry in the tin, and I'm going to blind bake it, which means I'm going to leave the paper on top as well in there, and I'm going to use my pie tin to keep it weighted down, and I'll show you that when I've got it all rolled out and in there. I'll never ever roll out gluten-free pastry on camera because it's more like making a patchwork blanket because it all falls apart, but it tastes good and it's okay in the end. So I'm going to roll it out and get it into my tin. So let me show you what I mean by blind baking. So you can see here I've got my pastry that I've rolled out in there, put it in. I've done a lot of pressing it down with my fingers to make it all fit in. Now then, you can put your baking beads in there. I don't have any, so I just use a smaller baking tin and pop that in there, and then pop it in the oven. The oven's on at 200, and I'll bake this, and then after 20 minutes I will take this out and the paper out and bake it for another 10 minutes. What you want when you cook a lemon tart is you want the pastry to be completely cooked, and you could obviously buy a completely cooked pastry case. Maybe that might be cheap where you live. It's pretty cheap here, to be honest, although I can't eat it, and as you can see here I use my gluten-free flour. So I'm going to pop that in the oven now for 20 minutes. So for the other half of the pastry, I'm going to make a Tarte Tatin, and you can see here I've got a square baking tin. I don't have a round one. You need a baking tin that is not loose bottomed, and that's my only solid one. So I'm going to use my little brownie tin. And in here I have got some water and I have got some sugar. I'm going to heat this up gently until it turns into a caramel, and then I will quickly remove the heat, or turn the heat off, and add in my butter. And you can see here I've prepared my apples. I've rinsed them in a bit of water, which stops them from going too brown. I've got 6 ordinary dessert apples here. So I'm going to get on and make my caramel. So what you do when you make a caramel is you just leave it basically. You don't stir it, you don't touch it, and this will just keep going until it basically turns brown and turns into a caramel. So in here I had 50 ml of water and 100 grams of sugar. And you just leave it. It's just science. It's a fun thing to make caramel. I'm going to see if I can catch it. When it starts to turn, then I'll start filming it for you. It's still bubbling away. I would say all in all you'll have to cook this for about 5 minutes in total, but you can see it's starting to thicken, it's starting to turn into a syrup, and it will very soon go brown, and the moment it does, I'm going to add in my butter. Now I have some lovely salted Breton butter here, which turns this from more of just caramel into very much a salted caramel sauce, and with the butter in it. You don't have to add the butter in there, but I really like it with the butter in. I think butter and apples are just heavenly. It's starting to change colour, so it's starting to go brown. I will not be able to show you the butter going in, but I'll show you the effect of it. There you go, it is changing. I'll leave it a few more seconds and I'll add the butter in, and I'll show you what it looks like after I've added the butter. There it is, caramel. I like it to brown a little bit more. Okay, there it is. I get really nervous with caramel. I don't like it to, I really fear it burning. I haven't got time in my day to make it twice. So you can see there's a little bit of butter left over there. I'm going to stir this all in. I'm then going to get it into my tin, and I'll show you how I arrange the apples on top. So the caramel sauce is in the bottom of the tin. Just get that in shot so you can see it. I've squidged the apples in as best I can. They're all arranged in there. And I've dolloped some butter on top of this and some sugar. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop this in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes. I want these apples to be cooked just a bit, not a lot. The nice thing with Tarte Tatin or any applesauce is the apples are not gooey. A French apple tart is not gooey. The apples are still intact. I know I could have been very chefy and arranged it absolutely beautifully, but it will be okay when it's cooked. So that's going to go into the oven, and here is my gluten-free pastry case. It's nearly there. You can see where the tin has been in it, it's browned in there. But I'm going to put that back in now for 10 minutes. And whilst that's in there for 10 minutes, I will make the lemon filling. Here is my cooked gluten-free pastry case. I always think gluten-free pastry looks like a complete road crash, but it tastes better than it looks. And those of us who can't eat wheat, who can't eat gluten, that's all do for us. Now to make the filling, in here I have the zest and juice of 2 lemons and 6 small eggs and 150 grams of sugar. I'm going to beat that together with my whisk. Let's put it on wide shot, there you go, with my whisk. And then I will then beat in, I've got here 150 millilitres of creme fraiche, full fat creme fraiche. The recipe said double cream, you could use heavy cream. In the UK you can use double cream, in America you can use heavy cream. Here we've got creme fraiche. You could alternatively use mascarpone in this, or apparently you can omit it and use melted butter. But I'm going to whisk that up, get that in the pie dish, get that in the oven, and it looks like too much. So what I've got is 2 little dishes here that I will put the excess filling in case I've got too much, and we can just eat it out of there. But who knows, it could fit in. So I'm going to get it whisked up, get the creme fraiche in as well, because I don't have any cream and I'm all about substitutions. Beat it up and get it into my pastry case. So there it is, it's just a egg mixture. The eggs will set this, and I'm going to pour it into my pastry case. I can't do that and hold the camera at the same time, and get that in the oven. If you think or you're worried that you're going to spill it, actually pull the shelf out of the oven with the pastry case on it and pour the custard in it when it's in there. But I'm okay, I'm quite steady-handed, and I'm going to get that in and into the oven, and I'm going to put that in the oven for 30 minutes. So just to show you, it all fits. It's shining, isn't it? It's reflecting with the light. It all fitted into the tart. Don't worry about the bubbles, it'll be fine. We can always dust it with icing sugar. If anything doesn't look the way you want it to look, dust it with icing sugar, that's what I say. So that's my lemon tart, and it's about to go into the oven. I've turned the oven temperature down to 150. I'll put what that is in Fahrenheit, and that's going to go in the oven for 30 minutes. So my apples have been in the oven, in a low oven. I've got the oven set to 160. I'll let you know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll pop that up on the screen, and I've cooked the apples. You'll see I've been poking them with the knife. They've softened, but they are not cooked. We do not want mushy apples. It looks lovely when it's done. I might have overdone the butter a bit, but too much butter is better than not enough butter, and I'm hopefully it's going to still have that caramelly sauce underneath. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Hopefully you'll realise that, I'm not a chef, I'm a frugal home cook. I'm trying to make some recipes for you that will be cheap and easy to make. Apples are cheap, sugar's cheap, butter's reasonable, it's cheap enough to make pastry, eggs are coming down in price again, so it's a cheap thing. I mean, this tart will easily serve 6 or 4 if you're greedy, but hey, it is designed for 6. It will go well in a round pastry case, in a pie tin, or as you can see as I've done it today, in my brownie tin. Now I'm going to get my pastry rolled out. I do not roll it on camera because, like I said, gluten-free pastry is an absolute road wreck. It really is. And I'll pop it on top and show you afterwards. I thought I'd just show you this, how I roll out my gluten-free pastry. It is a nightmare and it will fall apart otherwise. I roll it out between 2 pieces of greaseproof paper. And this recipe, because it's got 3 eggs in it, it's really made a difference. Normally, when I make gluten-free pastry, I use 1 egg and water. But this would have 2 eggs in it. It's a rich pastry. But because my eggs were small, I used 3 eggs. So it's made such a difference. So gluten-free cooks, you want your pastry to be really good, use more eggs. I'm going to get this on top and show you. So basically when I get the pastry on, I want to basically I'll use a spoon or the fork or something, or a knife or something, and push it down around it. And I'll show you that when I've done it. And there it is in the pie dish. I use my knife to kind of push it in and tuck it under, push it in and tuck it under, so it's all under the apples. That's going to go into the oven now for 30 minutes. And when it comes out of the oven, we won't be able to eat it for at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, because we only want it barely warm. I'm going to pop that into the oven. And here is my lemon tart straight out of the oven. You know, when I say things start to brown a bit or stuff like that, you can always just like dust some icing sugar on top, dust some confectioners sugar on top. Nobody's going to know. It's going to be fine. Eat it with your eyes shut. That's another thing that you can do. That's something you can do. Anyway, there you go. Right. So there it is. I mean, it cannot be eaten now until it's gone cold. Oh my goodness me. And it's warm today. It's going to take ages and ages to cool down. Da, 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 da. And it's gluten-free. Do you know what? If you went into our local bakers in our village and you bought a big lemon tart like that, it's about €15. And I can see why. All that butter, all those eggs, a couple of lemons. It's cheap to make in some ways. Lemons and the eggs are not too expensive. It's not too expensive. But that was enough there for 8 people. So it goes a long way. It's brilliant served with, if you can have whipped cream with it, or that you could have some creme fraiche with it as well. And it's really goes well if you have this and a bit of fruit, a few strawberries, a few raspberries, of which I have neither. But nonetheless, it's going to be a very long wait for this to cool down. And there is my Tarte Tatin out of the oven, and both of these got to cool down now. I swear this is going to be the longest hour of my entire life waiting for these to cool down. The smell of caramel and apples and butter and lemon. I mean, this whole kitchen smells like a boulangerie in here at the moment. And they're gluten-free and I can eat them, and I have to wait for them to cool down. Look, I'll show you this, look. All the caramelly bits are oozing out the side of it. Now, you could just buy ready-made pastry, which is really cheap here in France. And this one is really good if you can use ready-made puff pastry or flaky pastry. But I know, yes, I could have made flaky pastry, but this is so much easier. Like I said, it's going to be the longest hour of my entire life because I would love to eat a piece of this now with some cream on it. But here we go. I'll show you them when I serve them later. Oh, and there it is. The finished Tarte Tatin with the most buttery, most gorgeous pastry on it. And you can see how the pastry, I said to you, I tucked it in under the apple. You just tuck it in all the way around. And you can see how the caramel and the butter has seeped into all of it. It is absolutely amazing. So there's the Tarte Tatin, all finished, all turned upside down. And you want the apples to stay in chunks. You really do not want mush. Traditionally, it's done with half apples and you just wedge it in there, but gosh, it looks lovely. And then here we are, completely, and it's gluten-free. And it's gluten-free. There we go, lemon tart. Let's get these sliced and on a plate so we can eat some. So there it is, and you can see how I've cooked it. It's got kind of a buttery biscuit base. This recipe, the French called pâte sucre, so it's got a sweet pastry. And it's literally like a buttery cookie. And you can see how the egg custard has set. And you can see all the flecks of lemon in there too. And this one as well, you can see how the buttery pastry is cooked all the way through. A better light than that. Let's turn it around that way. There we go, light behind me. There we go. And that's how we served it. So we've got a little piece of lemon tart each, and some Tarte Tatin and creme fraiche. Very, very rare for us. But I've made this week to show you how you can make two really very affordable, very simple pieces of basic French patisserie. And this is something that you would find in our local boulangerie in our village. This is what you'd find there. You'd find a Tarte Tatin. Obviously, it would look a lot smarter than mine. And a Tarte Citron, and there it is again. Such simple fare, and yet absolutely delicious. And we get to eat it. Thank you to everyone who watches. A massive thank you to all the supporters of the channel. You're really helping us to grow the channel every time you hit that like button. And thank you to all the subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, come on, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because we make 3 videos a week. We love our thrifty life here in France, and we love sharing it with you too. And we will see you soon. Goodbye for now.